Good evening, my dearest friends. I hope everyone is well during these challenging periods. Some of us have been together on the MONTAUBAN mine project for 11 plus years. DNA management and consultants remained resilient throughout the years about bringing the project into production. After failing a couple of partnership attempts with different companies, DNA management finally was introduced to Secova Metals Corp, and an agreement was reached for the sale of the MONTAUBAN asset. I am pleased to announce that the transaction has been completed, and as DNA Canada Inc. shareholders, we will become Secova Metals Corp shareholders in 2022 through a dividend share distribution. It is with great pleasure that I stand before you and introduce to you Brad Kitchen, your CEO, President, and Chairman of Secova Metals Corp, one of the premier junior gold companies in the Abitibi Gold Belt region of Quebec. Mr. Kitchen has 31 years of experience in investment banking and heading up corporations. During this time, Mr. Kitchen has been responsible for all manner of day-to-day operations, as well as closing structured financings for primarily resource-based small, medium, and large private and public companies. Recently, he served as the CEO and president of Eagle Hill Exploration Corporation until it was taken over in August of 2013 and is now Osisko Mining Inc. He also served as vice president of structured financing with CIBC World Markets, formerly CIBC Wood Gundy Securities Inc., and TD Securities Inc. for over 11 years. For the past 20 years, Mr. Kitchen, through his company PBK Capital Corp., has worked with junior resource companies focusing on the mineral exploration and oil and gas industries. Mr. Kitchen holds an MBA from McGill University in Montreal, Quebec in 1987, and a bachelor's in applied science and civil engineering from the University of British Columbia in 1985. It has been 2 years that I've had the good fortune of working with Brad Kitchen on completing the transaction and, more importantly, advancing the MONTAUBAN mine project during this period. Dedication, compassion, and resilience are a couple of qualities that come to mind when describing my good friend Brad, our CEO of Secova Metals Corp. There is no doubt in my mind that his innovative strategies and approach will lead Secova shareholders towards a golden future.
Paul, thank you very much for that introduction. And I'd also like to thank you very much for introducing me to the DNA shareholders, or should I say the Secova shareholders. My name is Brad Kitchen, and I'm speaking to you from Vancouver, and would like to acknowledge that I'm speaking on the unceded territories of the Salish coastal nations. What I'd like to do tonight is tell you a little bit about the company, a little bit about the projects that the work that we've done on MONTAUBAN and Eagle River, and tell you where we're going to head over the next 6 to 18 months. The focus of Secova is really very simple. What we are doing is adding value to the shares. The way we were adding value to shares is really in 5 simple processes. The first one is that we're going to be in production. We're going to be in production before the end of the year. Second one is exploration. We're going to be doing exploration at MONTAUBAN. And the third is exploration at Eagle River. The DNA shareholders may not be familiar with Eagle River, but it's an exploration project that's adjacent to the Windfall Lake gold camp owned by Osisko that Paul was mentioning earlier. The fourth, and this is a very important aspect for a junior resource company, and that is that we are going to be in cash flow in 2023. So our financing requirements will be covered by our internal revenue sources. And the last one, and this is a very important core value for the company, and that is our ESG quotient is extremely high. And when talking about ESG, mentioning environmental, social, and governance. And this is a key factor for Secova and development, especially of the MONTAUBAN project and other projects we acquire in the future. Right now, I'll just go through a few of the slides and present to you some of the plans and some of the work that we have done. Secova itself has been around since about 2004. I joined the company, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, and we acquired the Eagle River project, which, as mentioned, is an exploration project near Windfall Lake. in the urban Barrie region. It's about a 2.5-hour drive from Quebec, 3 hours, 4 hours from Val-d'Or. We now acquired the MONTAUBAN project from DNA at the end of September and are currently working to get that into production before the end of the year. We have a very, very strong team, both here in Vancouver, from a CFO position in Toronto, and also that boots on the ground in Quebec. The share structure of Secova is fairly simple. We've issued 165 million shares already. There are some outstanding warrants, which we expect will be exercised, bringing in about another $2 million. And then there's 50 million shares to be issued to the DNA shareholders over the next year. Now, the key project that we're working on right now is the MONTAUBAN project. What I'd like to do is tell you what we've done over the last couple of years, where we are right now, and how we're going to get in production before the end of 2022. One thing I want to do, though, is make sure everybody understands what we are and where we are. So specifically, MONTAUBAN is roughly halfway between Montreal and Quebec City. It's just north of Trois-Rivières by about 30-35 minutes. It is directly adjacent to the town of Notre-Dame de Montauban, which is great because it means we don't have to build a camp. All the infrastructure is in place. People can go there from their homes, and there's good supply. Montauban was a mine for roughly 80 years, from 1910 to 1990. The city is very beautiful. In fact, it's such a beautiful part of the world that the river that runs beside our mill was on the back of the old $5 bill. But right now, there's no industry. And the really neat thing that we're going to do, and I'll go through the details on this in a second, but we're coming into a town and bringing about 30, 40 fairly high-paying jobs in an area that needs some employment. So it's a good news story that way. And we've been greeted with open arms from the mayor of the city, mayor of the adjoining cities, by many of the people. We had a bit of a town hall up in Montauban, and I thought maybe there would be about 5 or 10 people. We'd last about 15 minutes. The community center was packed. There was maybe 40, 45 people. And the presentation went on for an hour and a half, and all the questions were very positive. So that's where we are and what we'll be doing. What we've acquired is we've acquired 1.4 million tons of toxic tailings. And as I said, this is a beautiful part of the world, but you have this big, huge tailings sand dune. I've got a young son, so we watch Star Wars, and it reminds me very much of Tatooine. It is ugly. Nothing can grow on it. It's just there. It's this big scar in the middle of the forest. Now, we've also acquired the permits to mill 1,000 tons a day. And with the historic and also the more recent 43-101 done under Secova's names, we found that the grading of the tailings are roughly 1 gram a ton. And if we're processing 1,000 tons a day through the mill, then that means that we'll be producing 1,000 grams of gold, or roughly 35 ounces of gold per day. And that's, on today's gold prices around 2,000, that's about 70,000 US. The cost to produce that is only 20 to 25,000 Canadian on a daily basis. With the size of the mill and with the amount of tailings, that means we've got about 4.4 years of work to do. And what that will do is generate $95 million. So just sitting on the ground, sitting in these tailings, is $95 million worth of gold or gold and silver. The other key thing is, once we've processed those tailings, they will then be inert. In other words, they will no longer be toxic. We can return the site to its natural form. But here's where it gets really neat. That's the boring part of the process. And that's still $95 million in revenue, and that helps source exploration going forward. It helps source other acquisitions, and I'll get into that too. But the blue sky on this project is that it was a mine for 80 years, and there were 5 different mine portals. But there's never been a methodical, systematic model of how the gold's in situ. So we are doing a drill program right now, and that's primarily on the tailings, so it better defines the tailings and helps us with the logistics with regards to processing. But as soon as we complete that, we're then going to do a hard rock exploration plan below ground, and can go as far maybe as 700 meters. What we've seen from historic 43101, so these aren't in Secova's names, but the gold near surface is 3.6 grams per ton, which is 3.5 times greater than what we have in the tailings. So there's some potential, huge upside potential on the site itself. So all the engineering of the plant has been completed. I was Alfard out of Montreal. I encourage you to go to our website, secova.ca. There's a link to the model. You can rotate it. My little thing here is that I think it's from civil engineering, from an education perspective, I geek out on these type of things. To me, it's almost like looking through a James Bond video game. You can go up the catwalks, you can look inside the crushing ball tents, you can see the tanks, you can see the compressors. All this type of work is right there in the model, and it's all being completed. What we've also done is we've acquired the majority of the large equipment. So any of the red, any of the yellow you see there, we've also picked up on, and it's used, but it's still in very good shape from Val-d'Or and from Amos. We had 11 huge transport trucks bring that stuff to us in January, bring that stuff to the mill site in January, and we're going to start construction in the next 2 months. We're going to go for tender in March, and we're going to start construction in April. So that's what the timeline for processing. We anticipate that that will take another 6 to 9 months to complete. So just till the end of the year, when we can hopefully flip the switch and start processing. One comment that I have before going on to the Eagle River project, which is another exploration project, is that there are 263 abandoned mine sites in Quebec alone. So once we're into construction mode, we are going to be aggressively looking to acquire 3 or 4 of these other sites, hopefully of similar or larger size to Montauban, and be able to help out those communities, be able to reclaim the tailings, analyze the gold that's in situ, and hopefully process so that it's no longer toxic. So there's a lot of opportunity and upside just on the Montauban model itself. The last bit of blue sky I guess I can talk about is the Eagle River project. And that is a fairly significant exploration project, grassroots exploration project that we have that's adjacent to the Windfall Lake Gold Camp in Urban Barrie. As you can see, we have a fairly large chunk of land. It's the yellow portion there. And it is directly on trend to Osisko's Windfall Lake project, which goes through, well, it says Beaufield there right now, but Beaufield is now part of Osisko and goes through the Gladiator project on Bonterra. So we will be doing some exploration. We have done some surface exploration there with the intention of identifying drill targets, and we should be doing that sometime this summer. So we've got 2 drill programs, 2 hard rock drill programs that we're looking to do this year. One at Montauban after we finish the tailings drill out, and 2 at Eagle River. The nice thing about exploration on these projects or acquiring another project similar to Montauban is that we're not going to have to go to the market anymore. We'll be into revenue. We'll be able to support any exploration, any identification of new projects, any acquisitions simply from the cash flow. So the last slide is really our contact information. We are trading on the Canadian Stock Exchange, trading symbol SEK. Encourage you to sign up for our press releases. There'll be a lot of news coming in the next little while. We believe we've got very good value in the shares right now. And as we continue to hit our milestones, well, we will see some increase in value of the company. And in addition, I encourage you to go to our website at secova.ca. Please reach out to me, reach out to Glenn Watson, reach out to Paul. And if you have some questions on the stock itself, I would encourage you to reach out to one of our biggest supporters, who is Simon Bolac at Industrial Alliance in Laval. And if you wish, I'd be more than happy to give you his contact information. And he's been a big supporter of the company, and we look forward to working with him and Industrial Alliance in the future. Thank you again, and look forward to meeting most of you in the very near future.